We have Unchanged. I mean, this is nothing that the market should be surprised by, but let's see if we have some more details. As of now, the RBI has kept repo rate unchanged at 6.5%. We are, of course, waiting for more clarity as far as the RBI language is concerned, but I believe Latha is also ready with that document. Latha.
Yes. Yeah, you already know there's no change in liquidity and in rates. It is a hawkish policy. What the governor has said, or what the Reserve Bank is saying, is that inflation risks have gone to the upside. They have not changed their forecast for inflation for Jan-March 2017, but they say there is an upside risk to it, and I counted at least 5 sentences where they are worried about the inflation, largely because of the higher than expected inflation that came in April, primarily in food, but also that services inflation is remaining sticky at 5%. However, the RBI says it remains accommodative. Monetary policy remains accommodative, and the Reserve Bank will monitor macroeconomic and financial developments for further policy action. But it says that we said we will look for space. What we have got is a higher than expected inflation, and therefore they have given an upside risk bias to their inflation forecast. Clearly, that is the only difference between the April policy and the current policy. Otherwise, the sentences on liquidity are actually a cut-paste job. Not even a comma has been changed, and I could read that sentence to you. We will continue to provide liquidity as required, but progressively lower the average ex-ante liquidity deficit in the system from 1% of the NDTL to a position closer to neutrality. What this means in plain English is banks are borrowing from the Reserve Bank. They used to borrow about 2 lakh crore up until March. Now they are borrowing about 45 to 55,000 crores. That will come closer towards zero. That was exactly the statement they made in April. So no change in liquidity, but I could reread the sentence on inflation. The policy stance is clearly that there is an upward bias. Taking these factors into account, the inflation projections given in the April policy statement are retained, though with an upward bias. And the exact policy stance itself, in the bi-monthly April policy, the Reserve Bank stated it would watch macroeconomic and financial developments with a view to responding as spaces open. However, incoming data since then show a sharper than anticipated upsurge in inflationary pressures emanating from a number of food items, as well as a reversal in commodity prices. However, a strong monsoon, continued good food management, as well as expansion in the supply capacity, especially in services, can help offset these upward pressures. The Reserve Bank will stay on hold, but the stance of the policy remains accommodative. The Reserve Bank will monitor macroeconomic and other developments for any further scope for policy action. 2 other announcements. They are going to review the MCLR regime, and they say that timely infusion of capital will also aid credit flow. That's not much, but there is a review of the marginal cost lending framework which banks are now looking at. They are going to review the implementation, may not review the rules. I would assume that the Bank Nifty will take a knock. Bond prices are going to fall, and I think the yield will go above 7.5. You will have to tell me, Anuj.
You know, Latha, the Bank Nifty did take a knock, as did the Nifty. As soon as you said that the prima facie view of the policy was hawkish, but the kind of market we are in, that knock was bought. So I don't know if there's going to be a second knock once the market digests that. That's the bond yield. It was 746.9 when we started the conversation. It's 747.2 as we speak. And as you can see in that line graph, there was a bit of a knock in the Bank Nifty. That's been bought, but there's a bit of a second knock which is taking place, which normally happens, Latha. And that I think would be more interesting. The yield has gone up to 747.
Look at the yield.
Yeah, 747, Latha. It was 746.9. It's gone to 747.2 right now as we speak. So just about I think 3 basis points. Not a big move as of now.
Yeah, as of now, I think the market still thinks they may get space to cut rates. But if, before the policy, we had about 85% of the people saying they expect 1 rate cut in 2016, that number could go down after reading this policy, probably to 75% or to 60%. But over to our guests. We have Sonal with us first. Sonal, how would you read these statements?